Oh, I know what you're thinking, and come on, I'm not going to argue with facts. Yes, Radio DJ Dude has never looked better. And I mean, come on, it's tough to compete with something straight out of the Herb Tarlek collection. What? You don't know who Herb Tarlek is? Oh my God, only one of the greatest radio sales guys from only the best radio-themed TV show WKRP in Cincinnati. So why the fashionable homage to Herbie? Well, we are tackling a very important subject, something you've been knocking on Radio DJ Dude's door for a while, commercials. Specifically, how do you get them on the air with Radio DJ? But even more importantly, how to guarantee the best sounding commercial breaks, ones that will encourage your listeners to, listen longer. I'm Jeff, the Radio DJ Dude, and on this episode, you know it, it's all commercials all the time.
We are on the air.
I was planning on ditching the coat for the rest of the video, but come on. When you've got fashion or rock, it's just undeniable, and it will be rocked. So, we're gonna break this into two segments. Yes, I will get you all the info you need to get your commercials on the air using Radio DJ. But we're doing that at the end of the video, because there's a lot of broadcasters like you, and even you too, that don't use Radio DJ, but you still want to have really good sounding commercial breaks. So we're first gonna nail this segment, and I'm gonna break this into two segments. First, commercial production and best practices, and commercial playout. Yes, it does matter how you sequence your commercials on the air. First up, commercial production. Now, you really have two types of spots. Yeah, there's probably more, but for simplicity, we're breaking it down into two. One, agency-produced spots, commercials that you're given by your clients. Just run this. I paid some guy $38 to produce it. It's top-notch. Okay, so commercials produced outside of your station. And the others are the commercials that you create in-house. You write them, you voice them, you produce them. These are the ones I want to talk to you about. And you got to sense the generic tip that I'm about to unload, quality. I mean, from every step of the way, it's so important to prioritize the best writing, the best vocal delivery of the spot. Production value is really key. So don't just sit down and record a dry commercial and pop it on the air. How entertaining is it to hear some dry, monotonous voiceover for 60 seconds? It's not. So really dig in and spend some time with the creative process, because the better your spots sound, the happier your listeners and sponsors will be. For one, your listeners might actually stick around and listen to, an entertaining commercial, which is great. You're not going to lose them. And your sponsors are going to feel totally taken care of, like you care, and you really go all out to earn their business. And that could lead to repeat business. And maybe you steal some sponsors away from other stations who do more of a lackluster job of production. Or that's a new side hustle that you also could create an income stream producing high quality radio commercials for other companies. Something else under the quality banner is when a sponsor comes to you with an agency produced spot, or a spot that they produced on their own because their son had a mic and a sound card, and they voiced it, they put a cheesy music bed on it, and they expect you to play it. Well, this is a little dicey because you don't want to insult them, but you also don't want to kind of junk up the sound of your station by playing an inferior sounding spot that you already know, A, listeners will not want to listen to. They're going to tune out, which hurts you. And B, it hurts your sponsor because they're not going to get the most bang for their buck because of a crappy spot. And you think they're going to blame it on their read and their kids' production values? No. It's always going to come back on you, and they're going to say, I think that station was the weaker link, so I'm going to go take my crappy spot and play it on another station. So this is where you have to finesse a conversation with them in a very respectful way, to have them see the light and the value of you reimagining their spot and producing it in-house with a much higher production value, which hopefully will boost results from their ad campaign. Because that's the bottom line. Now, if you are writing copy and producing spots in-house, a big pet peeve of mine and something to really watch out for are cheesy dialogue spots. I mean, you hear these all the time. It's stiff, unnatural dialogue, poorly acted, and I'm sorry, it's not convincing anyone. No one's thinking, wow, they captured a real conversation, these two people talking about this product, and it's really funny because I'm hearing them laugh. No, don't do that. There's no need to do that. You can do better. The hallmark of a good dialogue spot is actually believable copy. So write it as actually someone would say it. And you don't have to mention the product name every sentence. That's the big giveaway. Don't force fake laughs either, because you're not getting anything over on your listeners. Listeners know it's not funny. Listeners get that it's not real. So if you really can craft a truly funny dialogue spot, that's a golden skill set that you can actually monetize. And maybe you open a little boutique ad agency. And the final commercial production tip is the importance of vocal variety. You don't want the same jock or announcer voicing every spot, because how good does that sound on your ear if you're hearing the same voice over and over again? No, mix it up. But I get it, you just might not have access to a large pool of voiceover talent. Aha! Well, here, once again, is where our friendly bots in the cloud come in. Use AI voiceover sparingly and only if it's high quality. And with this new speech-to-speech technology, for example, that ElevenLabs has, is pretty remarkable. And one option is to actually have a jock voice a spot. This month only, make tracks to Mercury Auto Repair for an oil change special, and then send that up to ElevenLabs using the speech-to-speech function. And you could choose the other voiceover. Maybe you have a real male voiceover, do the read, and then you create a clone of that with a female AI voice, just to provide some vocal variety on the air. And then you have two versions of the same spot.
This month only, make tracks to Mercury Auto Repair for an oil change special too good to deny your engine.
But once again, I cannot underscore this enough. It has to be really good sounding AI. Don't put robotic junk on your air, because that's a big giveaway, and especially with commercials. Plus, you're not going to score any points with your sponsors. They're going to say, hey, I paid you this much and you gave me this junk? Now let's dip our ear into the best practices for the playback of commercial breaks. How should your commercial breaks sound on the air? Yes, there is kind of a science to this, and these are tips that I picked up through different major market stations in my career, and I still really think they apply today. So number one is you want to order your commercials by production value. So if you're going right into your break and you hit listeners with a dry voiceover, a real sleeper spot, how good is that for listener retention? You think they're going to sit through that spot? First of all, listeners already hate commercials. But if they're boring, sleepy commercials, oh no, they're out of there. So it's really important to order your commercials with the most high energy, high production value spots first. And then you can do just, let's just say, general middle of the road production value. Then maybe a dry spot halfway in. And then think of also ending with a spot that has a higher production value. So you're bookending higher energy, good sounding spots. Something else to be mindful of is vocal separation. You don't want to stack up two spots that were voiced by the same person, because that just doesn't sound good. Once again, vocal variety is really key. So if you know that, Todd Michaels voices a lot of your spots, well, at least stagger his spots in a commercial break. Maybe you start with one and then you end with one, or at least break his spots up. That'll just sound better on the air. And you really want to make this easy on yourself when you are programming and scheduling breaks. In the old days, it was pretty simple. You had a cart with a label on it, and on that label, which you're seeing a Photoshop rendition right now, you had the sponsor name, maybe the ad campaign name, you had the out cue, you had the initials of who voiced the spot. Sometimes you'd have a kill date, and you can even designate if it's a high energy spot or a dry spot. But I hear you, it's no longer 1995. We're not playing carts anymore. These are all digital files that you're playing back. So you may want to adopt a naming system, something like this. Name the file with sponsor name, ad campaign if that's relevant. You had the initials of who voiced the spot and the production value. H for high energy or D for dry. Boom! Now at a glance, when you're scheduling commercials, right there in the file name, you have all the information you need to assemble a really good sounding commercial break. Another question that comes up all the time, well, how long should my commercial breaks be? How many breaks should I have every hour? Well, you know, that's kind of up to you and what's your commercial inventory like. If you have a ton of spots, well, maybe one, your rates are too low. Two, you may want to think of jacking your rates up so your breaks don't have to be as long to make the same amount of money. And that's much better for your listeners too. You don't want, 2 6-minute breaks, especially if you're an internet station. Oh, I think that's a killer to have really long commercial breaks when there's so many other options out there that are commercial free or a minimal amount of commercials. So my station, XXX80s, which is hosted by Live 365, I have a plan where I have to play 4 minutes of commercials every hour. So I break that into 2-minute commercial breaks. A listener will sit through a 2-minute break if they already love your station. And I kind of have some data on this. For about a year, I was rolling commercial free on XXX80s. But I wanted to save a little money because I'm not making anything off this ridiculous hobby. So I went back to the commercial plan. And I wasn't sure if everyone was going to bail when those breaks hit. But I really have not noticed any drop off in listener count. So don't be scared of adding breaks if you don't already have breaks. I think if you did 2 breaks an hour and each of those breaks are no longer than 3 minutes each, 4 is kind of pushing it for internet radio. But you have to test these waters and see what your listeners will tolerate. But let me plant this seed. Maybe instead of a break for a specialty show or themed hour, you get a sponsor to sponsor that hour so you don't have any breaks, but you do have sponsor mentions where you say, this hour is brought to you by, Dino's Nursery. And you drop those in, enough during the hour so your sponsor feels like they're getting their money's worth. That is a much better listener experience than having to sit through, 6 minutes of commercials every hour. And please, no commercial breaks at the top of the hour. Nothing kills off your listeners quicker than hearing commercials right at the beginning of an hour, because most of your competitors, they're playing music. And if you don't have to do news at the top of the hour, and come on, most internet stations, you don't need news. I know a lot of you are doing it because you feel like it sounds real and you feel big time. But once again, you always have to filter everything through what is best for your listener. Does your listener really need this news? Can't they find it on every other device they have in their hand and in their house? Yes. And if you insist on doing a news break at the top of the hour, make sure it's short and get right back to the music right after that news break. And don't delay your listeners any longer from why they're coming to you in the first place to listen to music. But I still maintain, don't play commercials at the top of any hour. Let's say you run a community station and the other stations in town, they all do news and a commercial break at the top of the hour. Well, here's a sneaky way how to compete with them. Do your commercial break at like 57. And so when the top of the hour hits, you do the news, but right after the news, bam, boom, you're right back to music. While all your other competitors, they're playing commercials. So that's a way to possibly, grab and hold listeners a little longer. And let's wrap it up with the ins and outs of a break. Break transitions are incredibly important. What are you doing before the commercials? And then what are you doing after the commercials? So going into a break, here are some things to consider. One, you could go into a break with a short station promo that's promoting some other features, some contest, but don't play a music imaging promo into a commercial break. I did a whole video on how to pop out some sexy sounding music promos, and boom, 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 right up there. There's a link to watch that. But the big takeaway is you don't want to play a music imaging promo into a commercial break. Why? Because here you are in this promo promoting your music. This is why people are listening to you. And after you hit them with all these great snippets of songs and you say, hey, we play the most and the best music, but then what do? You then bombard them with a bunch of commercials. Psychologically, that just doesn't work. That's a mismatch. So don't do that. But other short promos are great. Of course, there's a no-brainer. Maybe you're talking into the break. Whatever you do into a break should be rich with personality, hopefully funny. It should provide value to your listeners. Don't just drone on about the time and what songs are coming up. I mean, that doesn't really offer much value. Leave them with a smile so maybe they stick around through the commercials to hear more of your witty personality. That's the business we're in. We're mirth makers, damn it. One way I pull this off on my internet station, XXX80s, some breaks I go into with a really fun listener phone call, like this.
You can call now.
Yeah, so I was wondering if I can request a call for your phone.
Or you can request a call. What time would you like us to call you?
Is this a radio station?
We do wake-up calls, we do requests, and some tree trimming on the side.
Alright.
Oh, I forgot to mention, every other Wednesday, we also offer discount appendix removal.
Oh, what? Good, you're free.
More extreme 80s fun in 2 minutes. XXX80s.
Not completing.
Whenever you can make a listener laugh or crack a smile, there's a greater chance you can hang on to them through a commercial break because they want to feel good. They want to continue, to feel good that only your station can make them feel. Well, that and booze and women they meet down at the bowling alley on a Saturday night. But different video. And another example of a piece of production I use to get into a commercial break are these quick back to the music promos. Check it out.
More extreme 80s fun in 2 minutes.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
XXX80s.
If I could be...
Since my station is all 80s, there's that 80s flavor with movie and TV show drop-ins. And that helps reinforce the brand. And coming out of a commercial break, boom! You want to hit your listeners with a high-energy production element. Maybe it's an up-tempo jingle, a fun sweeper. Your listeners just had to endure like this energy suck of listening to things they really don't want. So as a pattern interrupt, you want to shake them awake again with something really up-tempo before you get them back to the music. Like this.
More extreme 80s fun.
XXX80s.
And within that production element, along with your station name, I think it's also good to mention your station's slogan, to remind your listeners of what they're getting by tuning in. It's not just commercials. For me, it's extreme 80s fun. And to complement this high energy production element, every first song out of a commercial break on my station is an up-tempo song. It's high energy. Also another tip, every song out of the top of the hour ID is a high energy song because that's really key. Once again, they've just slogged through your commercials for 3 minutes. So reward them for that investment. Keep them popping, keep them hopping. And it cements in their mind, oh, this station plays great music. And you know what? I don't mind sitting through the commercials because I'm always rewarded with a song that I love. Now, this might not apply if you're playing Gregorian chants, but maybe find one in a more up-tempo key. Another tried and true element out of a commercial break is a weather or traffic report. Like my totally fun and totally fake 80s themed weather reports. Couldn't ask for nicer weather to lay back on your inflatable futon and sip funky cold Medinas out of your commemorative Tone Loc tumbler. Wow, that's a mouthful. Firing up the totally tubular Doppler 8000, and you wild things can expect more temps in the 80s.
80s to the extreme.
Extreme 80s fun.
XXX80s.
But whatever you do, don't dead roll or dry segue from a commercial break right into a song without some form of branding, without some production element. Take a listen to an absolute commercial break fail, coming out of commercials, no production element, into a sleepy time slow song.
Project Yellow Light and the Ad Council.
I hope this was helpful and you're now armed with some tips and tricks to not only produce good sounding commercials, but then execute good sounding commercial breaks, equally important to your radio station. Now, for all my radio DJ lovers, this is all about you, baby. We're going to jump in and talk about how do you play commercials back on your radio station? How do you schedule spots using RadioDJ? And I've got 3 juicy options for you. So let's jump in. First up, we're in RadioDJ. And if your commercial inventory is manageable, well, I guess that's a double-edged sword. That's good and it's bad. The good part is you could probably pull off a lot of your commercial scheduling within the software. So before you start importing your commercials, you could use the commercials category, but customize subcategories. One application this is perfect for, let's say you have some specialty shows or features that have their own sponsors. So the 80s at 8 brought to you by, Mercury Car Repair. Well, one subcategory could be 80s at 8. Maybe you've got a sponsor that loves the afternoon show and just wants their spots to run, from 2 to 6 p.m. By adding custom subcategories, it's going to make creating events so much easier. And maybe you have a general subcategory called sponsors, which represent the spots that run all day, regardless of a specific day part or feature. So let's bring some of these babies in. All Smiles Dentistry is coming in. And they like to sponsor the afternoon show. So I like to do track type commercial. Now keep in mind, with commercials, more so than with music, start and end dates are very relevant because you may have a sponsor that just paid you for, a month of ads or a specific spot that is promoting a timed promotion or an event on a specific date. Well, this is where entering the start and end date information is very important. Over in the details, I'll do All Smiles. And for the title, that's where I'd enter the campaign name. And this is called Family Plan. For composer, you could put in who voiced it. And for label, I'm putting an H, which stands for, high energy, high production value. So all these details could be quickly ascertained with just a glance. And in order to run a tight ship, you always got to pay some love to the cue editor. Like right here, the next start cue point is way too far away from the end of the spot. I love a tight execution of all my elements. So I'd move that right there, save it, we're good to go. So now let's create an event to play back some of these spots during that specialty show or feature. So event name, maybe break 1, afternoon show. By creating those custom subcategories, now what you can do is say commercials and subcategory show afternoon, and then you could say how many spots do you want. Let's say you have 2 afternoon specific sponsors. So I'd set that to 2. Add that action. And then if I have 2 general sponsors that run throughout the day, I also could add those in. So I have a blend of both. Like I said, this solution is best suited for stations that, just don't have a lot of commercial inventory. And maybe your deal with these sponsors is they give you a monthly rate and you'll say, hey, I'll give you 1 spin every hour. And if you don't have strict reporting requirements, if your sponsors aren't asking you for traffic reports every month. That's a very targeted specialty option of getting commercials on the air just using RadioDJ's functionality. Number 2, creating external playlists. Keep in mind, anything you do external to RadioDJ, you still need to import all your spots in the way that I just showed you. Setting the cue point, start and end date, all that jazz. That's really important. If you don't do that and you import a commercial playlist that just points to different audio files on a hard drive, well, if they're very loose, for example, like this PSA, so if you didn't import this spot and set the cue points, RadioDJ wouldn't have that cue data and it would play the full 32-second spot with the 2 seconds of silence after the spot ends, which to me, that's just really sloppy. So that's why it's really important. Import all your spots first, put them in the proper category and subcategory, and you're much better off. Okay, so how do you create an external playlist if you're not using a piece of standalone software, which I'll get to? Well, there's two ways, a laborious way and an easy way. The great thing with this, all you need is Notepad, and we're going to be creating an M3U file. It's just a basic text document full of file paths. This is just a list of addresses to specific commercial audio files on your hard drive. But for this to work, it has to have the full file path. Okay, so let's say we are creating our own commercial playlist here, and we have to go find the commercial folder. If you're doing it this way, it's so important just to have one directory with commercials. And then within that directory, you could have subdirectories by sponsor name, or even feature or specialty show name too. For this example, we just have a couple spots. Unfortunately, you can't just drag this over because you end up with that. So now you have to figure out the file path of this file and how to paste it over in Notepad. So of course you can come to Properties, and in Properties we see the file name and then Location, D drive commercials, okay, where it's a little closer, but is there anywhere that gives us the full path for easy copying and pasting? Unfortunately not. So you're going to have to do a two-step copy and paste. So step 1, commercials. Step 2, add a slash. Step 3, we're copy and pasting the file name. So that's proper. That'll work. That's spot 1. Now we need spot 2. Let's check this out. Okay, so once again, for this, I'm just going to make our life a little easier. I can copy this and then come back here, copy this, and then we're moving on. Outlaw Grill. This is leading somewhere. I'm making this extra laborious for a reason. But this is true. It would actually take you this long. And then we're going to save this. A lot of times with external playlists, you're creating playlists for every break of every hour. This is where naming becomes very important. So if this is going to be break 1 of a 10 a.m. hour, and keep in mind that A is not for AM, but this is going to represent break 1 when we create the event for this commercial break. And then it is an M3U file. So I'm saying for this date mask, it's 2024, April 22nd, the 10 a.m. hour, the A block, the first commercial break of the hour. Okay, I save that. For that first break of our 10 a.m. hour, these 3 spots will play. Oh, you don't believe me. How dare you? Let's jump over to RadioDJ. Trust but verify. I don't even think you trust, but let's at least verify. So let's load up this playlist. Okay, bada boom, bada bing. Look at that. And since we already imported these, RadioDJ found them in the database, and it shows us the subcategories, and it is respecting the Q data for each, which is wonderful. And there's a sponsor name, there's the campaign name, and we're looking good. So in this break, let's say we had 2 spots by Todd Michaels, and this is why having the voiceover information in the file name is so important. In a single glance, you could spot potential problems because I like to have some vocal separation. If I see 2 TMs back to back, well, I could just easily move that. And then you see I have this dry spot, and I'd probably want to move the dry one down there. And now I'm good to go. Let's say this is for the second break of the hour. So then I'd name this 2024, April 22nd, 10B for break number 2, AB. And then you can continue with this naming, but that's still a lot of work. If you have 2 breaks an hour, that's 48 different playlist files you're creating. Good luck to you with that. I mean, that's where a standalone commercial traffic scheduling app really is a lifesaver. That's the pain in the mouse option. Interested in something with a little more razzle McDazzle? Because I'm always thinking of what's best for sweet little old you. Behold the commercial playlist creator. You remember all the hoops we had to jump through. Simple but tight app. All you do, select your folder where your commercials are, and then you build your break this way. I have these two Todd Michael spots back to back, not a problem. I'll highlight that. I can move that down. You can move these all around if you want. Move back up. Oh, no. I wasn't supposed to do two Todd Michael spots. I could remove that and then add in the Outlaw Grill spot. But I think I want to move it up. Okay. This is my break right here for the 11 a.m. hour. Break number 1. Click Save. I could just do that. So, 2024... April 22, 11 a.m., M3U. That's perfect. Saved. And now I'm back to the commercial creator. And let's say I know the All Smiles dentistry does not play in break number 2 of the 11 a.m. hour. So I could just delete that. Then pop in another file if need be. Save that out. So that would be break number 2, 11B. There we go. And if I need to clear the list completely, well, I just do that and I start building again. There we go. Bada boom, bada bing. The commercial playlist creator. Please don't short out your keyboard with that excessive drool. I know you want to get your paws all over this hot app. Well, for a limited time, and by limited time, I mean for as long as this video is up on YouTube, you can head over to the Radio DJ Dude shop. That link's in the description. And pick this baby up for an incredibly fair price. It's downright cheap. It's only been tested on Windows 10, but I assume it works on Windows 11. It's a very simple application, but it potentially could save you some time if you're creating these commercial playlists manually. So you definitely want to check that out. That's assuming you actually want to save time. You've created your external playlist. Now what the heck do you do? Well, we're back into Radio DJ events. And we're saying this is break 1. You could choose event type, repeat by day and hour, if you're loading these spots at a certain time every hour. But for me, I think it's better just to do manual event and then include this in a rotation so it brings the spots in at the proper time. So now we are loading a M3U playlist by date mask. We're telling Radio DJ to come into the commercials directory and look in spot playlists. Okay? So this argument in this exact string of lower and uppercase letters is basically saying look for the year, full year, the numerical 2-digit month, which is 04, the 2-digit date, DD. This is an hour based on the 24-hour clock. And then we're also saying A. So find this date string, and if there's an A next to it, load it. Add the action. This is break 1. And if you have 2 breaks an hour, well, you just create one more of these. You add this event, create break 2. If you want to duplicate this, it would be so incredible to be able to duplicate event actions, but you can't. So, unfortunately, you have to create a new event. We have the year, the month, the date, the hour, as expressed in the 24-hour clock, and B for break number 2, okay? And there you have it. So every time this event loads, Radio DJ is going to look at the hour, at the time, and the date, and then see if it has an A or a B at the end of the file. So save that, and here you go. Break 1, break 2. Now you're in business. If your station runs on rotations, then you'd add this. So right here, jingle stop set outs. I'd want to add break 1 in here, okay? Move that up, which of course you'd never add an event to a rotation using add manual event. Oh, cardinal sin. Watch this video right up there to the right where I reveal the manual event fix. Keep in mind, this is the same for that first example when we were using Radio DJ to schedule and playback commercials. So you just find that event we created for like afternoon show break. That's the same method. You just pop that in there and then you're good to go. Keep in mind, if you haven't seen this, there is a handy dandy guide under tutorials on the Radio DJ forum. It's stickied how to schedule radio commercials. So if you're just looking for pure data without excessive chit chat and opinion, well, this post lays out a really nice simple explanation how to schedule radio commercials using M3U files. Or option numero tres, standalone scheduling apps. And there are a bevy of broadcast options. I mean, more options than there should be. It's kind of a niche these days. But a lot of software developers jumped into the ring and said, hey, check my software out. Keep in mind, if you're using one of the big daddy music schedulers like Music Master or G Selector from RCS, they will already have some traffic scheduling components built in. And for the price, they better. Here are some standalone apps that really just do traffic and billing. And I have zero experience with any of them. These are all somewhat affordable and probably will check most of the boxes for smaller or even medium-sized radio stations. The main thing is if you're using them with Radio DJ, they have to be able to export an M3U file. AdMaster looks to have some robust features. As we check out the pricing, if you're a small station or even internet-only radio station, and you could prove it, they'll give you 75% off the like €25 a month fee. So that's something to consider. I mean, anytime you can find buyout software, that's so much better than getting pickpocketed every month with a subscription model. Now, a lot of these will be overkill. They're going to have built-in billing components and CRMs, which you might not need. And these are just a handful that I cherry-picked. If you do a search for radio station traffic scheduling software, the rabbit hole will even get deeper. This isn't too bad. RadioSoft, once again, I'm not endorsing any of these folks, $69 for software that looks decently featured. I mean, this could be worth kicking the tires on. And look at this, they continue to update it. So that's really a good sign. The real benefit of using a piece of standalone software is the flexibility, and you're really able to customize which spots you play and how they're scheduled. But like I said, that might be overkill for a lot of you. If you only have 6 sponsors, 6 ads in your inventory, you probably could schedule that within Radio DJ. You know, that actually felt pretty good, channeling my inner Herb Tarlek. We love you, Herbie. I hope this has lit the commercial fire of desire under you to not only produce better sounding commercials, but pull off better sounding commercial breaks. You now have all the tools you need to do just that. You know the drill. Please, if you like this, give me a like, hit a subscribe. I may do a little dance, well, in private, of course. And most important, wait for it. I think you know where it's going. Keep rocking those mics all over the world.